Hi, Jordan. How you doing? Terrell here, Big O Belt Media. How's your day going?
Very good. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Been waiting all day. I've been wanting to talk to you about this movie. So many questions, so many questions. First one, with you being both the writer and director, I mean, when you got two hats on in the movie, it's kind of hard to miss certain things. Uh, one, did you find the writing side to be a lot easier than the directing, or directing a lot easier than writing?
So I'm predominantly a director. So for me, I wrote the story with Jared, but I very much kind of, whilst we worked on the screenplay together, I very much pushed him in the way of him doing more of the screenplay because I found that that way when it came to making tough decisions on set and needing to cut stuff out, I wasn't so attached to it.
Right.
But for me, it's like the script is just the blueprint. That's all it is. And then we get on set, and now we've got an amazing creative crew. We've got an amazing creative cast, and we've got the diaries that this is actually based on. Bringing everybody together, and those that know me know I'm very collaborative. So it's always like, okay, well, you're an actor. You've just lived this character for the last. Yes, I may have written characters or whatever, and I may have been thinking about this 24/7, but you've actually been living that character since you've got that script and thinking about what that character's doing and how they're interacting with other characters. And
Right.
so when an actor comes to you and goes, "Oh, I want to try this, I want to try that," I go, "Yeah, let's give it a crack. And if it works, it works." Or at times, I'll be like, "Yeah, let's do it," or I'll be like, "No," and I'll explain later because we don't have time because things are going wrong on set, which always happens. But I love the opportunity to bring everything together, and that's why for me it's directing. It's that is where the magic. You make a film in pre-production, you make a film when you're filming it, you make another one in post-production, but the true magic is really when you're on set with all these creative minds to bring everything together and get all that magic in camera, so that when you get in that edit room, you've like got so much to work with. It's incredible.
You don't feel like you said, with everybody kind of being on set, that everybody's trying to kind of overtake each other, like as far as like the creative process goes, with you kind of being at the helm.
Oh, look, there's definitely that. There is actually a conversation I have with in particular the cast, because the crew I've worked with for quite a while now, and the new crew that come on are usually under the HODs that I've already worked with, and the conversation I usually have with that cast is, look, I want to hear your ideas, I want to be creative on set, but if I turn around and go, no, I don't think it's working, it's usually it's because it's not working, and I'll explain it later because we're too busy at the moment. But I'll always give that opportunity at dinner. We'll sit down, chat, or lunch, or whatever ends up being pending the schedule of the day, and I'll say, well, this is why I don't think it was working at the time. So it's very much like, yeah, being open and collaborative, but then also going, well, no, this is my project, and putting your foot down when the time comes to. So yeah, it's but at the end of the day, I mean, I got to work with people that have been in the industry. In fact, some of the people that were in post production have been in the industry for more years than I've been on this earth. So I'm going to listen to their
Oh
advice.
yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Oh
And
yeah.
and yeah, you listen to them because you go, well, you've been around, and sometimes I'll go, oh yeah, try this, and you go, wow, I never thought of that, or yeah, that's good, but no, not for my film. Thanks very much, but not for this. So, but look, I get to work with amazing cast and crew. So at the end of the day, you're always gonna you always find that you might get three different opinions. You'll have someone out there, the runners going, oh, this has to be done. They're talking about something. You hear all these different things, and the DOP will say one thing, lighting will say something else, cast will want to do something else, and at the end of the day, you're going to make the decision. And three people might be happy and one might be upset, but at the end of the day, you're there to do a job, and everybody kind of pats each other on the back and moves on. And as
Yeah.
long as the product is what we're setting out to achieve, that's what matters at the end of the day. As long as we can take that audience on that emotional journey, then we're all happy. I'm happy.
Yeah. My knowledge of Australia is extremely limited. To Rhea Ripley and Nicole Kidman. I don't I don't know anything about Australia. It definitely, but this movie definitely made me want to dive into more of the history, because you don't really hear a lot of Australians in the history books when it comes to certain things. And with this movie, this may not be based on a factual event. It's still a real thing that happened in real life. And the way you shot this, man, just in the trenches, like, you know, the dirt, I mean, I'm just looking at the set conditions. Like, there's no way where I could do this.
Yeah.
I can't be acting like this. Was it your goal, obviously, to get those tight shots, like in the trenches, get the emotion on these people's faces? You know, you see the loss of a brother, loss of a friend. You know, you're capturing, you know, childhood friends that, you know, want to go war, that basically want to go to war together because they're bored. Basically, they want to do
Pretty much.
something different. Um, was it your goal here to, like I said, get just really get the emotion in those characters' faces with those close shots, those tight shots in the trenches?
Yeah, look, definitely. And those that know me know that I really like doing things for real. So it was building these sets so that way it was. And then when COVID hit, we had to postpone for a bit, but that actually worked in our favor because then the set started to erode with the weather. So it didn't look like it was just being built by machinery. So being able to actually build it for real, and then it's like the DOP turned around and said, well, half of his job was done because the whole set was actually built for real, and it was always right. It was the wettest and coldest winter on record in this particular place that we filmed in. So there was a lot of nights it was like -5
Oh
degrees on
no.
average, and it was, and then the scene where Nichols and Jim are having the argument when one of the characters, without giving any spoilers away, one of the characters has been killed, etc.
Yeah.
And it's just hammering it down with rain. That's actual rain, and that was our first day on set filming. And we were, what I've mentioned before to people about, like we've had we've had hard shoots before, and I said, but this is going to be a hard shoot. And I don't think anyone really knew how hard it was going to be until the first day when the entire set, tents that we set up, because we had 120-kilometer gust winds, blew over in front of our eyes. And we're like, well, yeah, this is going to be an interesting film shoot. And then I had a guy come up who was filming behind the scenes and said, oh, considering that things are going wrong, we actually want to make a documentary, which as a director, that's really what you want to hear. Someone wants to make a documentary on the making of the movie. And it's just like, but a couple of days in, then we all really started to connect, and we had veterans there talking about how important the story was. And long story short, we realised how hard, what the story was about. And yes, like you said, every time someone thinks World War One and Australia, they usually think Gallipoli. They don't think about the 3.5 years that followed Gallipoli. They don't think of some of the greatest military victories of all time were actually in that period, which is what this Before Dawn shows. And if it wasn't for those certain battles, many historians still say if it wasn't for certain battles like Hindenburg Line or Polygon Wood, etc., the war would never have ended so early. It would have just kept going on and on and on. So the Australians and New Zealanders definitely played a significant part in the overall war itself. But being able to tell this film on such an, it's an epic film with big battles and all that, but then it's actually not really. It's actually about those individual stories, and therefore it's like, right, it's about these individual stories and what it was like in those trenches with the mud, the rain, the cold, the rats. I want to be in there. I want that audience, even the sound design. I want that sound design to push us into that screen, so that way when you're sitting there, in fact, at the premiere, we had about 1,500 people that actually watched it at the premiere, and it was like a record-breaking screening in Australia. And people were coming out in tears, and I'm going, "Oh no, what have I done? What have I done wrong?" People were crying here, but they were taking on this emotional journey. And one couple came up and they're like, "Oh, we loved it, etc." And he started going like this. He goes, "I'm still wiping the mud off me." He goes, "I feel like I've got the mud on me still." And I'm like, "That's what we wanted to achieve. We wanted people to achieve." So we wanted people to feel like they were actually there. And the only way you can do that is by having that camera in the trench, having the close-ups, feeling the emotions, and going on the journey with those characters.
Yeah, I definitely felt it. I mean, like I said, I mean, when the the scenes with the friends and stuff like that, and here we got this one character. And I'm glad you brought that, him, his regular life, kind of like into what he was prior to this war, because that gives a little bit more of kind of the character of this character, like of what type of person he is. Like, he's the type of person to go out there and pick somebody up. He's the type of person
Yes.
to worry about somebody that he barely knows. Um, Jumping back real quick to that documentary, it'd be hilarious to find out if this was like the documentary was like a OSHA safety video and what not to do this whole time. That's what you don't want to do while filming a movie. But last question, rapid here. What is kind of the plans? I don't know if you already got as far as distribution for this movie, because I definitely did like it. Is this is going straight to in theaters? Or we're gonna do like a digital release? Are we getting Blu-rays? We getting 4Ks? What's the plan there?
So, from my understanding, in the US, it's going to be a limited theatrical release and on digital from July 19.
Okay.
And then, yeah, so it's done its theatrical release in Australia. So it was like 9 weeks or something crazy like that, and it's still going. The UK, it's done a full release in the UK. All the advanced screenings in the UK are sold out, and then it goes on to theatrical pretty much around the same time as the US, and then it's going to be doing theatrical and digital across around the world. So we've got like Japan, China's doing a theatrical release, Germany, South Korea. Apparently, there's a cinema in Antarctica. There's a cinema down there that's going to be screening it for 4 weeks. So yeah, it's pretty much it's a film that we thought, oh, this is just going to go around in Australia. That's what we thought, but no, now it's like in every country in the world. Like all of Europe seems to have just jumped on it. And then America's jumped on as well. So being able to have the theatrical and then the limited release, and then the digital release as well. But that's from July 19. So yeah, it's kind of like the film was done and then I handed it off to the distributors. And now my mind has shifted onto the next one at the same time. But it's one of those things that I'm just really glad it's going really well. And the reviews that we got back that are coming in are usually sitting around the four-star mark. We've actually got a couple 5 stars, which in fact, one of the critics, which obviously I won't say who, but one of the critics was like, oh, here we go. They're going to give us a terrible review where, and they came in at 5 stars. I was like, well, they're now my best friend. So yeah, it's doing, we never anticipated the film to get this big. And the fact that it has is just a testament to show you that, the story itself, but also the sacrifice of those men and women back then. It's worth telling, and people need to see it to realize that, the world we live in today is a cotton wool bud world compared to what it was like back then.
Oh, yeah. Well, Jordon, I definitely appreciate you for doing this interview with me today. Thank you so much for your time. This is a great movie. I can't wait to show it to friends and family. It is definitely, like you said, it's definitely worth the 5 stars. Keep up the good work. This was really good.
Thanks, mate. Really appreciate it. Take care.
No problem. Enjoy your day.
Hey,